Welcome to college football on ESPN, presented by Cars.com. Ohio Stadium in Columbus is where Ohio State looks to rebound from that shocking loss at Purdue last week. The Buckeyes welcome Minnesota to the Horseshoe today. Dave Pasch alongside a pair of Hall of Famers, Bob Greasy and Chris Spielman. Despite Ohio State's loss last week, the Buckeyes control their own destiny for a fifth straight Big Ten championship. Iowa is still unbeaten, has to play at Michigan State, though, and at Ohio State in a few weeks. Penn State with a big one on the road at Michigan today. Well, guys, this is one of the biggest fish bowls in America, and it includes sharks. They've been all over quarterback Terrell Pryor this week. And he has struggled early in the season. Last year, 5 interceptions, 5 turnovers all of last year. This year, he has 12 turnovers in the first 7 games. He did not warm up well. He needs to come out and get off to a good, quick start. Well, the Buckeyes get the ball, and the thing I want you to watch today for Terrell Pryor, when he throws to his left, his feet tend to get parallel, which then he loses accuracy and velocity. When he throws to his right, he's okay. I know Nick Siciliano, the quarterback coach, addressed it. We'll see if that problem is fixed as the game progresses. Minnesota will kick off, so we'll get a look at Terrell Pryor right off the bat. He was the preseason Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year after a solid freshman season here in Columbus. Dave, you mentioned the fishbowl. The one thing you want to watch, if a couple passes go into the dirt early, the Boo Birds will come out here in the Horseshoe. Elstad to boot it away. Roy Small, who had a kick return for a touchdown against Wisconsin earlier this season, is back for the Buckeyes. Here's Small across the 10. And knocked down at the 21-yard line. Our impact players today are brought to you by Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry. Well, for Ohio State, Pryor, he's a 20-year-old sophomore making his 18th start. As I said, he's struggling, looking for a big day today. Posey, the big and talented wide receiver. He is the latest in a long line of outstanding Ohio State receivers. And Brian Rowe, small for a middle linebacker, leads the team in tackles. Proof positive that good things come in small packages. Ohio State will operate from its 22-yard line, and nothing on first down as Brandon Sane is wrapped up by Nate Triplett and Eric Small. And guys, we talk a lot about Terrell Pryor. Everybody has this week, but we watched film yesterday. It's not just Terrell Pryor. In fact, a lot of it's what's going on in front of him. Well, yeah, it's the offensive line, and problem are that they don't have the same 5 guys playing week in and week out, and that group has to be like fingers in the glove. All need to work together. Hopefully they're a little bit healthy and they get it going today. Jim Cordell playing left tackle. It's a new position for him. Mike Adams, the normal starter, out with a knee injury. Pryor's first pass now pulls it down and takes off and steps out at the 25. Starting lineups for Ohio State at the top of your screen. Well, everybody's chimed in with their thoughts on Terrell Pryor this week, including LeBron James, who says he's become a mentor to Pryor, and Terrell's old high school coach, who says he looks like a robot back there. Well, you know, everybody's got their opinion. First of all, the quarterback gets too much credit when things go well and too much blame when they don't. This is a total offense problem. Third down and long, so Pryor will throw. And his pass off the mark, intended for Posey. Now the offense did a nice job then. Minnesota came up with a 0 blitz, nobody in center field. They picked the blitz up well. He just missed an open receiver. And you can hear some of those Boo Birds, Chris, that you predicted would come out if Pryor missed on his first pass. Yeah, he's just got to maintain his composure. Coach Tressel gave him a vote of confidence. He's not going to get taken out. Just go there, collect your thoughts, come out, and have fun playing football. But a great start by Kevin Grosgrove in the Minnesota Golden Gopher defense. And Howden's punch short, fair caught at the 38 by Bryant Allen. Let's look at our Minnesota impact players, brought to you by Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry. Let's start out with quarterback Adam Weber. Needs to be a little bit more consistent and find other receivers other than Eric Decker, your next impact player. Just a tremendous football player, smart. Let's see if he can beat double coverage today. Keep your eye on that. And on the defensive side of the ball, you got Lee Campbell, smart, instinctive, and leader of that Golden Gopher defense. Well, the good news for Ohio State is its defense has been fantastic, and Minnesota's offense 114th in the country in total offense. They were shut out at Penn State last week. Play action, and they'll get the ball to Decker out in the flat on first down and run on a play by Chekwa after a gain of about 3 or 4, starting the lineups for Minnesota up top.
Well, that's Jed Fish, the offensive coordinator. Now, how are you going to get Eric Decker the football? Last week he had 1 catch. Right there, they brought him in motion. They gave him a little flare toss to get him in space, and it's a good job. They have to keep being creative because Ohio State is very difficult to beat in man-to-man matchups.
And now they bring Marquise Gray into the game. He is the number 2 quarterback behind Weber, and he'll take off on second down and pick up the first down and break a tackle. Oh, what a play by Gray. Freshman from Indianapolis takes it inside the Buckeye 35.
Both Tim Brewster and Jed Fish, when we talked to him the other day, said Marquise Gray will get in the game and he'll be in early. They didn't tell us he'd be in the second play, running the little wildcat. This kid is an excellent runner, has only thrown 1 pass on the year.
That's his 11th carry. Came to Minnesota when Terrell Pryor went to Ohio State, but had an invalid ACT score, so did not play a year ago. Weber's back in at quarterback, looking for room to operate, and then throws it into the dirt. Duan Bennett was in the area. Ohio State starting defensive players at the top of your screen.
You know, just think about Marquise Gray when he comes into the ballgame, throwing 1 pass, as Bob said. Nathan Williams on that play, the defensive end, just bypassed him. You've got to figure that you have to have somebody account for him. Nathan Williams is unblocked. All he has to do is expand his vision, open his eyes, and make a tackle in open field. But this is, again, the creativity of Jed Fish to try to get something going and get his best players on the field athletically, and Marquise Gray is certainly one of those kids.
Weber with time, and boy, Decker dropped that one. He was looking downfield instead of at the football.
Both quarterbacks, well, in fact, both quarterbacks have not played well the last 2 or 3 ball games. Adam Weber has not played well. You don't get opportunities very often. Decker should have had that one. And one of the ways, Chris, you know, they call Decker double Decker because he's always being doubled, the wide receiver. One of the leading receivers in the Big Ten. One of the ways to get him free is to put him in motion like they did just that time.
You'll rarely see him dropping one like that. That was a gift.
Oh, yeah, that was on him.
And Weber has the completion of the ball, came out. It's ruled incomplete. Brandon Green could not hang on to it. And so it's 4th down and 10.
That's what you want to do if you're Adam Weber. Work the other receivers into the game plan and give him the football. Let's see if he makes a football move now. There's the ball. 1. No, he never had possession of the football. But Adam Weber has to have trust in other players besides Decker for Adam Weber to be effective.
2 drops by Minnesota receivers inside the Ohio State 35, and the Gophers have to punt it away. Howden hangs one up there, and Small with the fair catch at the 8-yard line. Well, good first drive by Minnesota, but it's stalled inside the 35. We'll see if Terrell Pryor and the Buckeyes bounce back. Columbus, Dave Pasch, Bob Greasy, and Chris Spielman. No score. Ohio State will start its second drive inside its 10. The Buckeyes went 3 and out on their opening series.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a hurry-up offense this series to establish some type of rhythm.
Hand off to Brandon Sane. Able to get outside and then cut down by Sherrills at the 14-yard line. Well, guys, let's talk about Minnesota, because good opening drive, but then they stall inside the 35 because of drops. If you're the Gophers, you can't have that happen when you get momentum.
Well, if you want to be in this game in a tough place to play in Ohio Stadium, you've got to capitalize on field position. They had 2 drops that would have put them at least in field goal position, and I'm not sure, Grease, if they wouldn't have gone for it on 4th down.
Pryor will throw on second down. His second pass is caught by Posey right at the first down marker.
Well, the thing that Tim Brewster said to us the other day was that it is crucial that we get off to a good start. Neither team, quarterbacks are playing very well. Both teams had coming off of losses on the road last week. Minnesota at Penn State got shut out. So they need to come on the road, another very good opponent, and establish something. Keep some ball control on offense. They had an opportunity to do it, but they had a couple of drop passes.
It's the 10th and 11th rated offenses, respectively, Ohio State and Minnesota in the Big Ten Conference.
Play clock down to 5, and Ohio State's going to have to call a timeout here. More problems offensively for Ohio State as they have to burn a timeout early in the first quarter. In the initial BCS standings after losing at Purdue last week. With Bob Greasy, Chris Spielman, I'm Dave Pasch. Buckeyes, can they rebound here at home against a Minnesota team that Jim Tressel has never lost to? Ohio State coming off its initial first down of the game. Will keep it on the ground with Sane, and he gets planted. No gain on the play. All right, Reese here, second down and 10, and Pryor looking downfield, and it's broken up. Nice play by Royston. And pretty amazing, Reese, that a couple of the UConn players that were there when Howard was killed last weekend are playing, or were expected to play today for Randy Edsall in UConn. Pryor taking off on third down and long. He can do what a lot of other quarterbacks can't do when it comes to running the football. He picks up about 13.
This is the old Bear front. And they catch him in man-to-man defense. And this is where Terrell Pryor has to see a throwing lane and turn it into a running lane, especially against man-to-man, because the back seven, Bob, all their eyes are turned because they're guarding their guys.
Well, you saw there the linebacker, Triplett, number 32, was in good position to tackle most quarterbacks, but not Terrell Pryor. That's the thing that he does best, is scramble out of the pocket on a broken play. Let him do more of that.
Now over 1,000 career rushing yards, 5th all-time at Ohio State. Here's Brandon Sane, knocked down in the backfield by Simone Lawrence. As Minnesota's making a lot of plays around the line of scrimmage so far.
Last week against Purdue, Purdue was bringing the backside linebacker from the outside away from the back. And what it does is either you run into the play, you contain Pryor, or if the back comes across the field, you have an en-block player in the backfield, just like Simone Lawrence was en-blocked, because nobody will count from him, come from way outside.
So 2nd and 12, and Pryor with time, and now the pocket collapses, and Pryor's off and running again. And tried to take on Nate Triplett, but Triplett won that battle.
He got him that time. Of course, he had the out of bounds, the sideline as his friend.
One of his best weapons is he's got a nice jab, or stiff arm, depending how you want to define it. Right here, he doesn't throw the jab, and Triplett does a good job of closing the gate in front of the ball.
Yeah.
Brings up another 3rd down and long.
It's good to see Triplett healthy. We had him against Wisconsin. He got a couple stingers tackling a big man, Mount John Clay.
See, the 3rd down defense this year, Tim Brewster told us that's the one area they have to improve. 3rd down offense and 3rd down defense, so they will not win today in Columbus. That's what he told us. Here's 3rd and 7. And Pryor goes to Posey, threw that one on the money. Near midfield, and an Ohio State first down. Well, we talked about the struggles for Terrell Pryor. Let's show you what happened last week at Purdue. He fumbled 3 times. 2 of those resulted in giveaways. A lot of that, though, was because of the pressure. That one was on him. Also, a pair of interceptions, including this poor decision by Pryor to throw it deep instead of running.
In a couple of those situations, the offensive line didn't block well enough, and he had a defensive lineman in his face right off the bat.
We see Pryor under center. We have not seen a lot of this the last few games. Play action. Pryor rolling out. Sanzenbacher's wide open inside the 35-yard line. That was the pro set that we were not seeing the last few weeks.
And I think it's good to mix it up. Get him under center. This is what he does best. Throwing on the run. Doesn't throw it very hard. Just kind of lobs it because his receiver is wide open.
The thing I liked about it, Grease, was he got his shoulders turned around.
Yeah.
And he was able to get his shoulders square, then make a delivery of the football.
Now he's getting some confidence.
And Pryor gets out of another would-be tackle. And then ran into Ray Small downfield and picked up 7 or 8 yards.
The more successful he is throwing the ball and running the ball, the more confidence that he's going to have. Got off to a slow start in that first series.
Those are the passing numbers, and also 29 rushing yards. He had only 34 rushing yards all of last week. Now, that's in part because of 5 sacks. They count against personal rushing yardage.
If you don't count the sacks, he is the leading rusher on this Buckeye team.
Leads the team in rushing attempts as well. Here's Sane. Dan Herron not playing again today because of an ankle injury, so it'll be Sane getting the bulk of the carries. This week on Saturday Night Football, ABC delivers 2 must-win games. Texas in a critical conference showdown on the road at Missouri. And USC taking on a team that beat the Trojans last year. Granted, that was up in Oregon. This one is in Los Angeles. Oregon State, USC, Saturday Night Football presented by Southwest Airlines. First down, Ohio State inside the Minnesota 25. 12th play of the Buckeye drive that started at their 8-yard line. And Pryor tried to hit Posey, could not hang on to it. Pass was there, though. Posey just dropped it.
The thing I'm noticing that was different from last week and the 2 previous weeks is Terrell Pryor has trust in where his receiver's going. So as opposed to throwing to a guy, he's been throwing to a spot. Right there on the slant, he threw to a target as opposed to throwing right to Posey. And also a few plays back on the curl route, the one in the middle to Posey, he threw that ball before Posey came out of his cut. That's a good sign for Jim Tressel.
Handoff on second down. Sane finds some room, and then he gets leveled by Campbell at the 20-yard line.
Chris, as you know, Minnesota has 2 good inside linebackers, and those 2 defensive linemen right in front of them, Brown and Small, are 2 of the best in the Big Ten.
And that's why you see Lee Campbell there, 11 tackles per game. The bigger the rear ends are in front of you, usually the more successful the linebacker is. The bigger they were, the better I felt.
And yeah, and the better I felt when I saw those offensive linemen when I walked up. The bigger their butts were, the more confidence I had.
Pryor going to keep, and he gets wrapped up short of the first down marker. Gary Tinsley made the stop. Do you expect Ohio State to go for it here in 4th down?
Well, I think the old Jim Tressel would have kicked the field goal. I think the guy that says, I got to build something of a mindset with this offense that struggled. Let's go for it and see what we got. You're moving the football. Why not? You're having some success. You can build confidence for the rest of the game if you get this first down.
Always a popular decision when the coach decides to go for it instead of kicking a field goal.
Even if they don't get it, maybe he at least wins some fans back with this decision.
I mean, it's all.
I don't know if he doesn't make this.
They go 2 back. Zach Bourne is the fullback. Brandon Sane, the running back. It's Sane, and he's got the first down.
It's the old bread and butter play for Ohio State. It's a power O. You're going to see Bryant Browning, the right guard, pull into the hole. Does a good job of sealing 2 defenders, and all Brandon Sane has to do is fall down flat.
Here's Pryor taking off. And good play in the open field by Sherrills. Minimal gain for Terrell Pryor.
Marcus Sherrills is a solid senior. Was injured earlier in the year, coming back, adding some stability to that back 4 of the Golden Gophers. A really good football player.
How about this drive? This is the 17th play for Ohio State. Drive has lasted 7.5 minutes.
17th play of this drive?
Yeah. Wow. Remember, it started at the 8-yard line. Longest drive of the season. And Pryor to pass, pumps, and then throwing the fade to Posey. And broken up by Trey Simmons. Incomplete. It'll bring up 3rd down. I don't know if Simmons ever saw the ball, but he still made the play.
That's a nice call. If he would have gotten the ball there a little sooner, like right now, get the ball there now, but Simmons makes a nice play.
It's the inside-out fade, and the only thing, it's a good pass, it's a good play by Simmons. But, Bob, I think that ball's a little off target. Why I say that, you got to throw that behind the receiver, away from the defensive back on the back shoulder. That was on the front shoulder.
That, too. Either get it there sooner or that.
Minnesota showing blitz. And here come the Gophers, and Pryor makes a great move, but he can't get away twice. Eric Small missed him the first time, but not the second time, and now the Buckeyes have to kick a field goal.
It's been a problem all year for Ohio State's offense. In the red zone, they have difficulty finishing drives, and they end up settling for threes, and that's what Coach Tressel was telling us yesterday. When we get down here, we got to be able to finish instead of kicking field goals all the time.
Aaron Petrie will try a 30-yard field goal. He's missed 3 times on the year. He's the leading scorer in the Big Ten. And that one is not good. He missed it wide to the left. That's a tough angle from that hash mark. So after that 8-minute drive, Ohio State comes up with nothing. That has to be a confidence builder for Minnesota. Petrie misses a 30-yard field goal after a season-long 18-play, 8-minute, 22-second drive. Buckeyes come up with nothing, and Minnesota, which did move the football on its first possession, takes over.
That's been Petrie's nemesis, the short field goals this year. Had a couple missed from short range earlier on. Got to be able to nail those points on the board, especially for an offense that is struggling. Can't leave them on the field.
Minnesota in the spread.
Yeah, that's a formation that we saw mostly last year, not as often this year, as that pass is caught on the outside by Kevin Whaley. Good pickup of about 6 or 7 on first down. Our Saturday menu brought to you by Applebee's on ABC at 3:30. Another big one in the Big Ten. Penn State trying to end a 5-game skid at Michigan. Also, Florida in action tonight. Texas as well.
Marquise Gray in the ball game. Spread formation.
This is part of their game plan. The quote was, we don't want to get in a phone booth fight with them. It'd be like you and I, Dave. You wouldn't want to get in a phone booth fight with me, buddy.
I throw cheap shots. Here's Decker. Minnesota first down out near the 35.
That's a key breaker right there.
Yeah.
Marquise, a true freshman, getting in the ball game, throwing a pass and completing it. That'll give the defense some problems. Oh, wait a minute. He can pass as well as run.
Take a look. Just nice, calm, composed, good delivery, stepping to his target. Jim Haycock, the defensive coordinator, he was prepared for Marquise to start throwing the football this game.
Yeah, no doubt.
They'll keep Gray in there. And he'll run this time, and he gets tattooed, but somehow fought through Cameron Hayward's big hit and got positive yardage. You mentioned Gray when he came to Minnesota. That was the same year Terrell Pryor came out of high school. Gray was ineligible, though, because of invalid ACT score. He was a big-time recruit out of Indianapolis. A lot of other schools backed off him, though, when he hurt his non-throwing arm his senior year. So maybe there's something to prove for him today, playing against Terrell Pryor here in Columbus. Weber back in the game at quarterback. On play action, looking downfield, and Decker is open. In Ohio State territory. Steps out at the 48-yard line. Third catch for Decker, but shaken up. He's been battling an ankle injury off and on the last couple of years.
I think Tress is talking to him. Yeah, he's got his foot down, got possession of the ball. I like the call, though. Play action, first down. Gets it down to your man, Decker.
Well, you can see the Minnesota coaches have done their homework, huh?
Absolutely. Well, exactly. You're right.
On both sides of the ball. It's a good staff Tim Brewster has. There's Weber taken off. And a flag down.
This is what you can't have. You cannot, if you're Minnesota offensively, you're going against one of the best defenses in the country. You cannot stop yourself with penalties.
It's shades of old school. The Golden Gophers of 2008, where Adam Weber was a factor in their running offense to a little quarterback draw.
Yes.
Holding. Offense, number 76. 10-yard penalty. First down.
That's on the left tackle, Dominic Alford. As they're working on, that's the foot that Decker
hurt that
a couple times.
In the Cal game, wasn't it? When we were up there doing the Cal game, he hurt that ankle.
And last year, hurt his ankle against Northwestern as well. Don't want to speculate that that's what they're looking at here, but Obviously, it's the left leg. And Weber zips that one in there back to the original line of scrimmage. Here's a Whaley. And he gets about 4 or 5. And the ball came out. Ohio State has it. Was Whaley down? That's the question.
I didn't hear a whistle.
It was recovered by Thaddeus Gibson. And no signal yet. And they're saying now it's Ohio State ball.
See Brian Roll right here coming, stripping the football. He was down.
Was it coming out though? No. No, he's down.
He's down. Yeah, I think they'll reverse that call.
They might have had a slow whistle because last week Kirk Coleman created a fumble where there's no whistle and there was forward progress. In that case, he was certainly down.
You got to love Thomas Hammock, the running backs coach. He's yelling at Whaley saying, hold on to the ball. He's like, I did. I had it the whole way down. It just came out when I hit the ground.
He did. He did.
He's trying to convince his coach. Maybe the coach will back off here if they overturn this ruling.
The previous play is under further review.
You got to talk to the coach. Coach, just wait a minute now. They're going to review this. If it's a fumble, then you can yell at me. But I didn't fumble it.
Now, it does have to be indisputable video evidence, but it appears that based on the shots we had, those are the same shots that the technical advisor upstairs will have. It looked clear that Whaley was down, that the ball came out when it hit the ground. He's down there anyway. So even the fact that the ball came out when he hit the ground looked like his knee was down even before that, and the ball was still in his possession.
You know, you wonder if last week in Purdue, where Purdue got a favorable call because of a forward progress ruling, but no whistle, if maybe officials are thinking about, well, if that ball's out, we got to make sure that it was down. I don't know. That's pure speculation on my part. But usually sometimes when there's questionable calls or close calls, you like to play it safe.
Now, because we're assuming that this is going to be overturned, they'll have to get a feel for how much time's on the clock and all that, so it may take a little bit longer, but apparently not. They already made the decision quickly, and they'll get the exact time back on the clock as well.
Well, the thing that you don't want to do, and with Tim Brewster, the head coach at Minnesota, can yell at his young running back Whaley, is that don't leave it in the hands of the officials.
Yeah.
Don't make it that close where you have to go, and maybe it doesn't show up, in the replays. Maybe they wouldn't say. Maybe they couldn't see it to reverse it.
Whaley's a guy that the Minnesota coaches are counting on. He's a freshman. They're very talented out of Virginia Beach. He had to sit out last year, though. He was recovering from a gunshot wound suffered in March of last year, and then he also had an arrest on an assault charge during the season a year ago and was sentenced to 2 years probation. He's been starting the last couple of games, and the coaches are expecting a lot out of him.
See right here, a lot of times when you're a young player, coaches will make sure they get their point across.
It's like, Coach, I had it.
Yeah. Well, he's on my all dreadlock team. I know that.
This offense, as you mentioned earlier, Dave, is not very good. I mean, their offensive line has had problems. They need some running backs. The strength is the quarterback and Decker. And Decker's on the sideline getting his ankle taped.
And again, the reason for the delay is if there is a situation where the call on the field is overturned, they go back to just double check what's the down, how much time is on the clock, and where do you spot the ball. And that could be the reason why this is taking the time that it is.
Yeah, if it was a fumble and heading the other direction,
yeah,
there wouldn't be any conversation.
Mike Cannon is finished doing his due diligence, and he's got the call for us.
After further review, the runner's knee was down before losing control of the ball. It'll be Minnesota's ball. Third down, 5 yards to go on the 43-yard line. Clock operator, would you please reset the clock to 42 seconds?
And now, guys, a big third down for Minnesota. Again, Tim Brewster told us that's the key. In this game, we have got to convert on both sides of the ball on third down.
Well, they aren't good at third downs on offense or defense. And this is one of the areas they've been working on all week to improve on. Third down situations, keeping the ball, keeping your offense on the field, and getting your defense off the field.
Last in the conference, they did their job on defense on third down, stopping Ohio State on the last drive to force a field goal that was missed by Petrie. Weber, and a flag down. There was movement by Minnesota.
False start, offense, number 71. Third down.
And actually, it hurts Minnesota. They get their best player back on the field. Eric Decker was not on the field, but got his ankle retaped and then jogged back out there after the penalty call.
I'm an offensive guy, a quarterback. You just can't have illegal. You can't have holding offensively. You can't have illegal motion. One of your tackles is moving. You got to stay together. I mean, tough enough to move against a great defense if you're trying to stop yourself.
Final 10 seconds of the opening quarter. Third down and long. And there's contact downfield. How come there's no flag? Wow, Torrance was all over Brandon Green. And the linesman was right there, but no penalty flag. And so Minnesota will punt. You guys see that too, or am I the only one?
I think there was contact initially. Yeah. Take a look.
Well,
I think
look here.
Both guys are doing a little hand fighting. Brandon Green does a good job. The only problem, I could see a little push. But if you're Brandon Green, you got to work your rear end back toward the football. He didn't come back to the football, allowed Devon Torrance to close on the coverage.
Well, to me, like more than a little push. And that's fair caught by Small inside the 10-yard line. And a flag comes down. Now they're going to get Green for kick-catch interference. Correction, Stoudemire.
Grease, you got to tell those receivers, right? As a quarterback, hey, come back to the ball.
Well,
don't stand there.
You got to go far enough to get the first down first and then come back.
Kick-catching interference, number 11 of the kicking team. 15-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Will run an untimed down. First down, Ohio State.
Boy, that again was questionable. Ooh, do you see Stoudemire with getting in the face of one of the coaches there?
That's another thing you don't need.
Well, I'm sure that Stoudemire is complaining because he waited till the very last moment to raise his hand.
Yeah, talking about Small, it was a late signal for the fair catch. And
yeah, he's clearly upset.
That does happen on the sidelines, but I'm telling you what, that better be addressed with vigor and passion, either
watch
at
out
halftime or now.
Well, it wasn't that late.
Is that interference?
Yeah, you got to give him room to catch the football. He did bump into him with the ball in the air. The problem you have is he's a major player in your offense. I mean, he has some explosive skills in receiving. You got to keep your composure. Whoever the coach was, they got to get that together. Then you address the problem that'll never happen again, either at halftime or after the game.
So one untimed down after the penalty with zeros on the clock. It'll be Brandon Sane breaking free. And then tackled by Royston at the 38-yard line. Gain of 15. That's the end of the first quarter. We're scoreless in Columbus as they continue to look at Eric Decker. 1 quarter of play. Tim Brewster, the head coach of the Gophers, going over to Troy Stoudemire, who is hot after he was called for kick-catch interference. Trying to calm down his wide receiver and special teams player.
Good move by the head coach.
Here's Brandon Sane looking for a hole and gets a handful to the 44. Right race, no score here, and a 2nd down and 4 for Terrell Pryor. And Pryor throws incomplete, but a penalty flag down. Simmons covering downfield. Deron Carter. Well, Minnesota was in Ohio State territory twice in that first quarter, came up with nothing. Ohio State in Gopher territory once and came up with nothing.
Pass interference, defense, number 15. Spot foul, automatic first down.
Right there, again, I'm not sure where the pass interference is unless from the top you can see maybe he bumped him. I thought that was an excellent job of defensive back arriving Trey Simmons when the ball arrived. And went out of his way to keep his hands off the back of Duron Carter.
I kind of agree.
Pryor with a ton of time, going deep, and they're thrown again. And Simmons broke this one up. It was intended for Sanzenbacher. And penalties right now are killing the Gophers. They got 4 because right now they're outplaying Ohio State.
Well, yeah, but Ohio State had an 8-play drive. I think Minnesota has missed opportunities. Grease, the ball was late. And I think when you watch him practice on those corner routes, you have to read short to deep. Right now, he's reading deep, and he's not coming back to short. Pryor.
You're right.
Now you mentioned that drive, 18 plays all the way down the field, starting from the 9-yard line, and then Petrie missed a field goal. Pryor brings it to Posey in the flat, gain 5. Sherrill's on the stop. Are you guys surprised that Ohio State, after losing at Purdue last week, did not have a better first quarter?
Well, I am and I'm not. The reason I am is I thought they would come out and really ready to play. But I think they came out a little inconsistent, a little without a lot of confidence. But I see it building. That 18-play drive they just had, the last drive, I think gave them some confidence. And then all the penalties on Minnesota is just helping them.
Byron, third down, has it tipped at the line by Nate Triplett. Incomplete. And Ohio State faced with another 4th down.
When you got an on-block player on a 3-step drop, you got to create a throwing window. And sometimes that's either throw it sidearm, move your feet to find that window. And Triplett did a good job of getting in the throwing lane.
Or make a fake.
Get him up in the air.
Get him in the air, step around him, and then throw it.
Toma to boot it away to Bryant Allen. And the Buckeyes are all over it at the 5-yard line. No score, early second quarter. Buckeye fans were irate this week. More on that when we return. Back in Columbus, where the fans are as passionate as anywhere you'll find in the country. And they were all over Terrell Pryor and the Buckeyes this week. Not a lot to cheer about yet today, but the Gophers are backed up at their 6-yard line. Marquise Gray, the backup, who's had some success running the Wildcat, is in at quarterback and doesn't get much on first down. Doug Worthington made the play there. Adam Weber will come back in. No Eric Decker right now for Minnesota.
But without Eric Decker, they don't have a lot in the passing game. He is obviously their best wide receiver. But he's out with an ankle sprain right now.
And one man's loss, another man's opportunity, a chance for some Golden Gopher receiver to step up and make a play.
Weber with time has a man. Caught across the 20-yard line. And out near the 25 is Bryant Allen. Here's where Eric Decker got hurt. Earlier in this game, we mentioned his left ankle's been bothering him this year and last year. He went out for a little bit, then came back in for one play and got hurt again.
As you mentioned, he came into the ball game with a gimpy ankle to start with. Injured it initially on that sideline catch, which didn't look like he wasn't hit.
First catch for Bryant Allen, a freshman. Minnesota's been able to move the ball so far in the game as that slant works again. This time to Brandon Green.
Same play. Good catch and throw by the quarterback.
Well, if you're playing zone defense, you see Kirk Coleman chase the flat. Well, you got to understand that your corner is going to be sitting out there because his guy in his zone is running that in route. So Coleman has to play the in route, then work to the flat.
And Gray back in at quarterback. He's thrown one pass, run a couple of times. From the Minnesota 37. Buckeyes blitz, and they're all over it. Thaddeus Gibson made the stop on Whaley. Well, we talked about the angry Buckeye fans, and you heard them this week on local Columbus radio station 97.1 The Fan.
I am sick. I am sick. I am sick. I don't know how much more of this I can take.
They lack passion. They lack intensity.
It's ridiculous the way we play offense. I'm sorry to sit there and say it. Tressel's turned out to be a joke.
He's the guy who bought a vet and don't know how to drive it. It's a shame to, to be a Ohio State fan right now, really. I mean, it's, when's the bleeding going to stop?
Gray takes off and picks up 6. Chris, you do a radio show on that station, and you've lived here in Columbus. You went to Ohio State. Compared this week, how bad was it this week to previous down weeks here in Columbus?
I think it was bad because they see this offense regressing as opposed to progressing. And if you talk to Coach Tressel, he understands the passion of the fans. I understand the passion of the fans because I live here. I'll tell you what, even though you don't like some of the things that were said, people have the right to opinion. Everybody in this town knows football, and you got to deal with it. At least they're not lukewarm and spitting you out of your mouth.
From an outsider's, I think it's ridiculous. What Tressel has done for this university?
Wait a second.
Timeout. Minnesota. That's their first charge timeout.
We all know, Bob, in football, it's a what have you done for me lately business.
A lot of people thought that after losing at Purdue last week, Ohio State would come out and trounce a Minnesota team that was really struggling the last couple of weeks, but Buckeyes have got nothing. Meanwhile, Minnesota's killed itself with penalties. Otherwise, been very balanced, and they've been able to move the ball.
The posse over here, 3 wide receivers.
And Weber's going to throw away from it. That pass was low. Should have been completed. Brandon Green, the intended receiver. Weber had him, and now he has to punt. We've seen drops. We've seen throws off the mark and penalties.
Well, like I said, both quarterbacks came in. They were not playing very well. Both Weber and Pryor struggling a little bit, and none of them has really turned it around. Weber's made some good throws.
That's an easy throw. That was a pitch and catch from 5 yards for the first down.
You have to hit that. It's a third down. I can see why they're the worst in the league on third down situations.
Howden punting to Small, and this is a good boot. Small going to field it inside his 10. Makes a couple of men miss. And out near the 25. Nice return. Another opportunity for Terrell Pryor and the Ohio State offense, which is struggling again today when we come back. Columbus, Ohio State's offense back on the field at its 25-yard line. So far, Terrell Pryor's 4 of 10 passing for 39 yards. He does have 33 rushing yards on 7 carries. And here's an end around. Minnesota not fooled. A loss on the play. Well, Reese, it was a personal foul on Eric Small. Another Minnesota penalty, guys.
Well, he's number 98.
Yeah, unnecessary there, coming in late.
A late hit. You don't have to do that. I mean, this is the penalties, it speaks to being undisciplined. The football team, and offense, defense, and special teams, all 3 of them.
5th penalty. And Pryor to pass, gonna air it out. There's a man wide open. A mix-up in the secondary. Posey will walk in for the touchdown. LeBron James, Terrell Pryor's new mentor, would call that a rebound for Terrell Pryor after struggling last week. A 62-yard touchdown pass to Posey.
Look at it up here. Trying to clear the telestrator. It's just a mix-up in the defense to the outside guy. Simmons sees the inside receiver breaking out, leaves the deep guy all alone.
That speaks to undiscipline, boys. We talk about undisciplined and penalties. Sometimes when you're undisciplined with penalties, you're undisciplined in your pass coverage. You have to have a communication. Is it man or is it zone? I know one thing. Your corner better know if it's man or zone. He didn't there.
Talking throughout this game with Bob Greasy, Chris Spielman, I'm Dave Pasch, about the discontent here in Columbus with Ohio State's offense. But how about Minnesota's offense? Scoreless in the last 100 minutes and 51 seconds.
Now, they've come up against some pretty good defenses. Here today against Ohio State. Last week they were at Happy Valley against Penn State. They didn't score a point last week. So they've had it pretty tough. On the road at Penn State, on the road at Ohio State. For the second year in a row, they've had to come here to Columbus.
Scheduling quirk. But 5 penalties, a handful of drop passes, a mix-up in the secondary. Yet Minnesota's only down 7-0. Stoudemire, who's getting into it with an assistant coach earlier in the game, here on the kick return, out across the 25.
Good coach.
So you like to hire for your alma mater. As Gray is going to throw, but everybody covered, and Gray spilled back at the 25 by Thaddeus Gibson. As the chase hits the halfway point, Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon will look to close the gap on current points leader Jimmy Johnson as NASCAR's best. Head of the shortest track on the circuit, the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continues at Martinsville with coverage beginning tomorrow on ABC at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, presented by Goodyear. Jimmy Johnson has won 5 of the last 6 races at Martinsville, by the way.
It's the first time we saw Jeff Gordon up there in the top 5, isn't it?
Where's Juan Pablo Montoya?
He's out having a taco.
And it's Weber is back in at quarterback, and he's across the 30 out near the 34. Nathan Williams downfield made the stop. Going to bring up 3rd down for the Gophers.
And this is where they have to get better. Now, schematically, they're solid. I mean, when you look at things, there's things open, but eventually it comes down. We talk about coaching, and this goes for Ohio State also. Eventually it comes down to execution. When there's plays to be made, eventually the player's got to say, that's my responsibility, and I won't throw one in the dirt because I'm capable from Adam Weber of putting one on the numbers.
Weber misfired on his last 3rd down and 5 attempt. And this time it's his receiver's fault. Eric Lair, the backup tight end, dropped it.
That's not any one guy. We've had several guys drop the passes. We've had several guys on the offensive line get involved in penalties. We've had defensive penalties. We've had a special teams penalty on Stoudemire. So it's rampant throughout the team. And you just can't win unless everybody's on the same track. Dropping passes, penalties.
Howden will punt. Small had a good return last time. This is a returnable kick. Small at the 30 and trying to get outside. And it can't. Tripped up at the 33-yard line by Kyle Theron. So Ohio State's offense back on the field, leading 7-0. It's time now for our Aflac trivia question. Guys, which 3 FBS teams have recorded 2 shutouts this season? I'm going to give you a hint. Okay, 1 is from the Mountain West, 1 is from the Big 12, and the other team is from the Big 10.
Interesting.
Do you want me to answer that now?
Yeah, if you know it.
Ohio State.
So you got the Big 10. You think it's Ohio State. What about the Big 12? You know that one? That one might surprise you. Running play, Sane out near the 40. Got about 6 on 1st down. You have any idea, Chris?
TCU?
Good guess, but incorrect.
No, Dave, then I don't have any idea.
He's a great partner, isn't he?
Yeah.
He just wanted to show America how dumb we are over there. He's got the answer right in front of him. We're going to have to ask him some trivia questions.
Sane trying to power past the 1st down marker, and the ball came out. Minnesota's got the ball with Sane down. Royston came out of there with the ball. They ruled, though, that Sane was down.
Something Ohio State wanted to do.
Every play in college football is reviewed.
Now he's down.
Yeah, he's sitting on the ground.
Ohio State's changing the tempo of their offense right now. You can see Sane fighting for extra yardage. He's on his seat, and of course then the ball is stripped away. But we talked with Jim Bowman, the offensive coordinator, and this is something we talked about the talk show radios, and the one I do. We've talked about, well, when has this team been most efficient on the offensive side of the ball? Well, it's when they've gone kind of a no-huddle type of offense to establish some rhythm. What that does, it allows Terrell Pryor to get in a rhythm, and it also eliminates a lot of different defenses that you can run because you have to line up and make sure everybody's on the same page.
Is there less pressure on a quarterback when you're running the no-huddle and you've been struggling? So you're not thinking as much, or no?
Well, it depends. That system you remember Jim Kelly with the old Buffalo Bills? He was best in that. He did that better than getting in the huddle and calling plays. And that was good for him. So whatever is good for the quarterback, you know, some like it, some don't.
Well, he's excelled at it. I mean, that's when his offense has had some rhythm.
They did not get the first down, 3rd down and a yard, and they're looking at Brandon Sane. And remember, Dan Herron is out. He's missed now 4 games, or most of 4 games anyway, with an ankle injury. And the only other running back they've really been using is a true freshman, Jordan Hall, who is from Terrell Pryor's hometown. Minnesota has challenged. You get a challenge if you're the head coach in college football, even though every play is already reviewed. And if he does get it correct, he will get to use another challenge later in the game, challenging the spot here.
But if he's not correct, that's the one challenge he gets for the game.
Well, why would you use the challenge?
Well,
He didn't get the first down.
I think he's grabbing right here. I think he's knowing that this is a critical time in the game. If I can get a fumble,
yeah, the fumble
midfield,
is what he's challenging.
Yeah.
But he was down. I mean, looked clearly like he was on the ground. Now, an assistant coach upstairs will be looking at a monitor, you would think, and it looked like he was down. Correction, the assistant coaches do not have a monitor in college football to look at. So, again, this is based on a gut feeling here from Tim Brewster more than anything else.
Well, I think part of the idea, if you're a player and it's a close call, you have to go sell your coach if you want to use that challenge. Coach, I was in the pile. I'm telling you, throw the flag. It was a fumble. But if nobody's running over there,
after
pitching a sale.
Review, the runner was down before he lost control of the ball. Minnesota has charged the timeout for that challenge. 3rd down.
If he's not pitching a sale to the coach that the ball was out, then you got to be smart about when you use your challenge and when you don't use your challenge.
Yeah, I think Tim Brewster was just looking for something to turn the tide around in this ball game. And if he would have gotten a fumble at the 50-yard line, and they could have taken it at half field for a touchdown, I think that would have been a big play for him. But it wasn't to be.
You see an empty back set, 3rd and 1. Terrell Pryor is in the shotgun right now. If he comes up to center, he's not great at the quarterback sneak. What they like to do is probably get him to use his speed to the wide side of the field.
Always running to the right, huh?
But he is going to line up under center here. And here is the quarterback sneak. This time he does get it. Yep. Off the left side. Picked up the first down. All right, our Aflac trivia question was, which 3 FBS teams recorded 2 shutouts this season? And the smart guys over here, one of them said Ohio State, and that was correct. Oklahoma was the other, and also Air Force. Did you guys watch that Air Force Nicholls State game?
Yeah, I did.
Yep, so you should have known that then.
I was in Thibodaux, Louisiana watching that one, by the way. Home of Nicholls State.
The Buckeyes with 2 shutouts, but also 2 losses. Home to USC and then last week at Purdue. But they do control their own destiny if they win out in the Big Ten for a 5th straight conference title. As Pryor goes for Posey, what a throw! But it's ruled incomplete because Sherrills made a play on Posey. But Pryor delivered that time.
Throw and catch.
It looked like he had it, and then all of a sudden the ball comes out.
Watch Marcus Sherrills never quit on the football play. Looking lean, play in the eyes, great catch. And watch the left hand come in from behind, much like a basketball player.
See if he puts this ball away. He catches it, puts it away, and then he knocks it loose. It's almost like a catch and a fumble.
And if it was a fumble, did it go through the end zone and out of bounds? It doesn't matter now because we're not going to have a review, but Ohio State could have possibly challenged that as Pryor takes off. Inside the 40, a flag down, though, at the 35. But Ohio State could have taken a little bit more time off the clock to allow upstairs to look at that because it did look like a catch.
It did.
Now, if it was knocked out of bounds short of the goal line, it'd been Ohio State ball. But if it went through the end zone,
maybe that's why you don't want to look at that.
Ball. Yeah.
Here's the first penalty for the Buckeyes today.
Marcus Sherrills does a great job, and as a corners, you have to always fight and keep digging at the receiver's hands.
Holding. Offense. Number 12. 10 yards from the spot of the foul. It remains second down.
That's on Sanzenbacher. Let's take a look again at the pass that was ruled incomplete.
He puts it away right there and gets it knocked away. Now, the ruling is he catches it, puts it away. Does he make a football move? Yes, he's got his feet down. He's tucking it away. Got a foot on the ground. That was close. But you're right. If it would have been out of bounds, been Ohio State on the 1-yard line.
Or if it had gone through the end zone, it'd be Minnesota ball on the 20-yard line, and perhaps that's why Tressel didn't bother as Pryor rolls out and throwing deep again. Posey got behind the secondary, but it's broken up by Simmons. And here, Reese, it is 7-0 Ohio State, and a 3rd down and 6 coming up for Terrell Pryor and the Buckeyes. Pryor just 5 of 13 passing for 101 yards. He does have 50 yards on the ground, but he's going to take off here, and there's a hole. And Pryor's got the first down. Dumped at the 43 by Sherrills.
Let's look at the previous pass. Early in the ball game, we saw Terrell Pryor get his shoulders turned toward his target. Right here, his shoulders are not turned toward the target. His left foot is not pointing toward the target. The result of the pass is that you get a floater, which allowed the Minnesota defensive backs to close on DeVere Posey. When he gets those shoulders turned and his feet turned to his target, that's when he gets the zip and velocity in the non-floaters.
There's Jordan Hall, who's in there for Brandon Sane, who is shaken up. He gets to the 40. Eric Small in on the play for the Gophers.
I'm telling you, one thing that Terrell Pryor is doing better than I've seen him do all year is he's recognizing man coverage, and he's using his ability. Now, I got to think that Coach Jim Tressel, Nick Siciliano, the quarterback coach, have told him, hey, Terrell, look, you're struggling throwing the football. One way to get confidence, and Grease brought this up earlier, get it going with your feet. When you see man coverage, you see a throwing lane, turn it in a running lane, and go. And he's doing that this game.
And he's protected the football, something Jim Tressel was harping on all week. Pryor going to Sanzenbacher, and just as I say that, he almost throws an interception. There, it should have had that one inside the 20. Well, that may have been on the receiver, hard to tell.
Yeah, it's very rare do you see Pryor throwing anything over the middle, short over the middle, either 5, 10, 15, 20 yards. That time, you know, he made a bad throw.
What timing? What do you guys make of Todd McShay's comments this week about maybe moving Pryor to receiver?
No, he should play quarterback. You know, he's a long strider. If they put a guy up, bump and run on him, he'd never get off the line of scrimmage.
See how he does here at quarterback on 3rd and 8. As there was some movement. J.B. Shugart's the right tackle, came up out of his stance.
Yeah, he's been prone to jumping.
Number 76 of the offense. 3rd down.
Look, I think there, and Todd was talking about possibly in the NFL. Obviously, for college, he's a quarterback.
Oh, he said next year. He said next year, well, possibly moving to wide receiver. That was his comment.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with Todd on that, because I think Terrell Pryor still has room to grow and develop. And Jim Tressel said he's making progress that we don't see on the field yet, but he's making progress.
Pryor throws underneath to Hall on 3rd and long, and he's brought down at the 40, about 8 yards shy of a first down.
A lot of the things that they ask him to throw are to the outside. Short outside, curl outside, slant outside, or deep outside, or deep down the middle, a deep post. Never do they ask him to throw a check down over the middle, a little square in, or a 20-yard square in over the middle. Everything is outside or deep.
And in years past, guys, Ohio State would lose players like Beanie Wells and Rabisky and Hartline and be able to make up for it. It doesn't seem like they've been able to, though, this year. As that punt takes a Gopher bounce near the 20. So it's not all on Terrell Pryor. Made a good throw on that drive, but Posey could not hang on to it. I'm Dave Pash in Columbus, where Ohio State leads Minnesota, but it's only 7-0. Let's see if the Gophers can put together a drive, get some points going into the locker room in 6+ quarters since they last scored. They'll start this drive from their 19. It's an inside handoff to Bennett, and a good pickup of about 5 on first down. Tonight on ESPN, top-ranked Florida takes on Mississippi State. We'll see a former Gator offensive coordinator, now head coach of the Bulldogs, Dan Mullen, has something in store for Tim Tebow and company. College football primetime presented by Hampton Hotels on ESPN tonight. As you look at the career numbers for Tim Tebow, one rushing touchdown away from tying Herschel Walker's SEC record.
Tebow going against his old offensive coordinator and good friend.
And again, 3 defensive starters, including Spikes, not expected to play as Weber knew he was going to get hit, and that pass underthrown, trying for Tau Arnett, the tight end.
When you don't have an established running game, then you got 4 hungry defensive linemen and a lot of depth at that defensive line. They don't even honor the run. I mean, they're on the snap of the ball, the defensive line for Ohio State right there. See Nathan Williams getting up the field with speed and an intent to get a shot on the quarterback. Not worried about the run whatsoever.
Minnesota is 110th in the country in running out of 120 teams, so they don't run the ball too well.
The defense for Ohio State has been good all year long. 11th in the nation in scoring defense. 3rd down and 4. Weber has time, everybody covered, and then Weber delivers it to Stoudemire despite the fact that he got smoked. It's a 1st down.
He's a tough kid.
Yeah.
I mean, he's mentally strong, too. Yeah. He's not had success, but right there it takes guts and a trust in your offense, Grease, to stand in there and deliver the ball when you take a shot.
He goes through like 2 or 3 reads, and at the final minute when he's starting to run, he sees the guy, the other 4th guy, come right into vision, and he has the quickness to get the ball there.
That's Stoudemire, a guy that they need for your offense to step up because he does have big play ability.
Eric Decker has not returned since getting hurt in the 1st quarter. He did come back for 1 play after the initial injury, then got hurt again. And we're looking at that left leg. Kevin Whaley with running room. 2nd straight time that on 1st down they've run the ball and gotten pretty good yardage. Gain of about 6. Doug Worthington made the stop.
Again, and part of the reasons why you're having running room is Ohio State is not doing any type of run responsibility. I mean, they're very aggressive by nature defensively. They do a lot of blitzing up front and movements. They're just getting off the ball, and they're starting to find little gaps and seams on 1st down.
Weber out of the gun. He'll throw on 2nd and short. And that pass broken up. Chekwa covering Brandon Green. So why not run on 2nd down? They've thrown 2 straight plays on 2nd down, and they've been incomplete.
But again, it's execution. Those are good calls. I mean, the ball's there. The guy's got to catch it. And it's not a hard play. It's a slant, right, Brees?
It's something that they've had success with, throwing that slant route against those corners.
Jed Fish in his 1st year as the offensive coordinator. He's been in the NFL for the last 7 or 8 years. 33-year-old offensive coordinator. Yeah, so he dials up here on 3rd and 3.
Yeah, and he's done a nice job.
Yep.
You know, it's with just they need a couple more recruiting classes and they'll be all right.
Weber rolling left. And that pass incomplete. And it looked like McKnight had a chance to catch that one too.
I mean, it's a well-designed play. Weber gets outside, gets his shoulder square to the field, makes a nice throw inside the defensive back.
Got to catch the ball there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a great throw.
The receiver needs to be more settled when the ball is being delivered. Get your feet square and be ready for the ball. Don't be drifting away.
That or run it. I mean, he could have ran the ball and got the 1st down, but I understand his idea.
Yeah.
5th drop for Minnesota today. Howden punting again to Small. How many times have you said that today? Another good punt. It'll be down inside the 15. Reese, since you're up and you're going to be getting coffee for Lou and Mark, maybe get Bob and Chris some too. As Pryor throws downfield and completes it to the 30-yard line. Sanzenbacher, gain of 16, 1st down.
Here's where they go their no-huddle offense, and I'm telling you guys, the past 2 games, this is where Terrell Pryor has been in his comfort zone.
Yep.
And they've had success. I wouldn't be surprised if they have success in this drive.
Pryor to throw again. Now flushed out of the pocket. And that was a beautiful toss by Pryor. Sanzenbacher again has been very reliable this year. Takes it to the 42 of Minnesota.
Now right there you saw the best of Terrell Pryor. In the pocket, got a little flushed out, scrambled, gets away from the defensive line, gets his shoulder square, and throws it into an area where only his guy can catch it.
Minnesota can't give up points here, guys, right?
That's right.
Have a chance here. Maybe 3, but to get down 14 zip would be tough on the road. Pryor all day. And everybody covered. Pryor spinning, twirling, and finally brought down by Cedric McKinley for a loss on the play.
I mean, if you're going to play Terrell Pryor, and 2 years ago he came out, he was the #1 recruit in the country. He was the #1 recruit in the country, and he came out of Jeanette, Pennsylvania, and if you've got him, then you got to use his talents. You've got to do what he does best. Adopt to him instead of him adopting to your offense.
Last week at Purdue, but today Terrell Pryor, though, has made some plays in this game and has a touchdown pass, the only point so far, but I think the fans were expecting more.
He's going to number 8 eventually in this drive. That's his comfort level. That's his big play guy. That's who we trust, DeVere Posey.
And Posey dropped one inside the 5. It was a brilliant toss by Pryor on the last possession. And nice. Pryor with a good throw again. Short of the marker is Ray Small. So to bring up 3rd down.
Nice as far as footwork, and that's if he gets that consistency where his shoulders and his feet are pointing to the target, Bob, and he does a good job of that throwing right off the film that we watched.
Well, he's young. I mean, everybody expects this kid to. All right, he's been here 1 year. Now his sophomore year, he's going to make all the plays. You know, he only had 5 turnovers last year. He's probably going to lower that. Well, he's had more this year.
Yeah, but 18 starts. I mean, when does young not become young after 18 starts?
Preseason player of the year as well. Pryor on 3rd down and short, lowers the shoulder and has the 1st down. Cooper got the worst of that. For Minnesota, let's see if Ohio State uses its final timeout or hangs on to it here. Plenty of time. 1:20 to go.
Now, DeVere Posey up top now. He's been able to get deep in this first half twice.
Pryor in trouble and gets out of trouble. Let's see what he does here. He throws it away. Baron Moen missed the sack, but the smart play by Pryor that time.
It's a little maturity that he throws this ball away. He's hard to bring down. Defensive lineman can't bring him down. Now he knows there's nothing over there. Just get rid of it. Come back and let's go for another play.
Well, that's been a point of emphasis this week by Jim Tressel that, hey, Terrell, punt's not a bad thing. Hey, Terrell, throwing the ball out of bounds to live to play another down is not a bad thing, as opposed to taking a sack. We're trying to make something out of nothing.
There's a sign in the Ohio State offices that says it's okay to punt, and Pryor really didn't like that, but then Coach Tressel put it in context and said, would you rather have a punt or a turnover? And Tressel said, okay, I get what you're saying. He thought that maybe the coaches didn't have confidence in him as he puts that one on the money to Posey for a 1st down inside the 20.
It's a difference that I'm seeing this week from the previous 2 weeks is that he's throwing the ball at least to Posey before Posey is out of his cut. Right? And on an out cut, that's so vitally important so your corner doesn't get a good jump on the football.
174 passing yards by Terrell Pryor in this game. He's going to throw again. Going to the end zone, and it's intercepted. Kyle Ferret stepped in front of the intended receiver, Dane Sanzenbacher, with the INT.
And there, in a short period of time, is the inconsistency of Terrell Pryor.
There is a penalty flag down in the middle of the field.
Players know. Players are going off.
Yeah, it may have been thrown on the return.
Chop block.
Yep.
Offense, number 50. Penalties decline. 1st down, Minnesota.
First interception this season for 3-year starter Kyle Ferret.
Let's take a look. Steps toward his target. That's a good throw. Ferret, number 27, sees it all the way. But that's the inconsistencies of Terrell Pryor. And that's why you have guys calling it on radio shows that are upset.
Well, he's looking, first of all, he's looking right at his target. We talked about it.
Well, you got to look that way some to throw the ball.
No, I understand that, sir. I'm going to
you can't throw it without looking.
I know you don't like it when I talk about quarterbacks, but he's only looking deep. There's a guy underneath. Now, you got to look short to deep as opposed to deep to deep. If he's looking deep, guess where he's throwing? He's deep. He's got to understand there's a short guy.
I would love to play against you. You're a linebacker. You know, that little guy on the run underneath you, looking right at you.
I don't know if you would have made it through the game, Bob.
These two will carry on here at halftime. Steel cage match at halftime. As we go back to Reese, Mark, and Lou in the Bud Light halftime report. Welcome back to college football on ESPN, presented by Cars.com. Here at Ohio Stadium in Columbus, the Buckeyes lead Minnesota 7-0 as we get ready to start the third quarter. Ohio State coming off a loss at Purdue last week. Minnesota losing at Penn State. And now Eric Decker out with a left ankle injury is what we're being told. The same ankle he hurt against Cal earlier this year and against Northwestern last year.
He's out, and so are his 50 receptions on the year, 5 touchdown passes, 224 receptions in his career. They're going to have to find somebody else to get the job done.
There were 5 drops in the first half by Minnesota receivers. Decker had one of those drops, though, before getting injured. Gophers will get the ball. Stoudemire and Jay Thomas back to receive. Here's Petrie, who missed a short field goal in the first half with a pooch kick. And a diving attempt, and it's picked up by the Buckeyes. Ohio State is going to take over at the 30-yard line. On the kickoff, it's a live ball. The Gophers could not come up with it. Ohio State unable to advance that. They'll have it, though, inside the Gopher 30-yard line.
Well, that was strategy. Jim Tressel was very concerned about Stoudemire, number 11, as their return man. In fact, he mentioned it to you in the pregame. And you see right there, he does a good job of trying to make a play, but you got to secure the catch. And that's a good call by Jim Tressel to pooch kick it, which clearly the Gopher return team was not ready for.
So Ohio State gets the short field. The Buckeyes were able to move the ball in the first half, but 0 for 2 in the red zone. A missed field goal and an interception by Pryor at the end of the half. Maybe that play there will provide a spark.
Might go deep to Posey here after a turnover.
Ted Jordan Hall is in there for the banged up Landon Singh at running back, and good balance by the true freshman Hall inside the 20. Well, we talked about the mistakes for Ohio State in that first half. 0 for 2 in the red zone despite 278 yards of total offense.
Lots of offense for Ohio State, just not a lot of production, not a lot of points.
Well, it's been a problem for them to be able to finish when they get in the red zone. And Minnesota's got to just relax because they have plays and opportunities to make. They're just not executing. But schematically, they're doing all right.
Yeah, we talked about the drops. They also had a handful of penalties in that first half and got into Buckeye territory on 2 occasions. They'll keep it on the ground with Hall. Tackled at the 15 after a gain of 4 by Lee Campbell. Talked about the drops and the injury to Decker. Ohio State able to move the ball but not complete drives.
Minnesota had the ball 5 times, excuse me, and had 5 punts.
Pryor threw for 174 yards in the first half. He also ran it for 59 yards, and he takes off here and is in.
See right here, Terrell Pryor using that 6'6" length to make sure he gets in, goes up for the dunk. But people have been clamoring. His old high school coach was clamoring. Terrell should run the read option. You run the read option, it paid off there.
5th touchdown run for Pryor. And the pooch kick paid off. as the Buckeyes got possession on the short field and now lead a team that hasn't scored in 7 quarters, 14-0. The preseason Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year. Making a play the fans will be proud of this week. They took over inside the Minnesota 30-yard line after the muffed kickoff return. Recovered by the Buckeyes. So now Petrie will kick it deep after the pooch kick on the last kickoff. Stoudemire has trouble with this one. And there's a flag down. 2 flags down. Stoudemire eventually down as well. Jim Tressel said all week long Stoudemire is a guy that could kill us this week, but he has not been able to get going for Minnesota. He's been arguing with his coaches on the sideline. John Butler, the special teams coach, got into it with him in the first half after Stoudemire was penalized. He's had trouble on some of these returns as well. Let's go to the studio right now and check in with Reese Davis.
Dave, every week, as you know, we honor the ESPN AT&T All-America Player of the Week, and Christian Ponder got a jump on everybody, throwing a 98-yard touchdown pass in the Seminoles' comeback victory against North Carolina. All you have to do, text VOTE to 345-345 on your wireless phone. You can get all the entries and then cast your vote, and also enter for a chance to win a trip to the national championship game in Pasadena next January.
All right, Reese. Meanwhile, Minnesota without a point in the last almost 112 minutes. And the Gophers are in a hole again, starting at their 6-yard line. And they only get a couple of yards on the ground with Duan Bennett. Thaddeus Gibson made the stop.
Let's go back and take a look at this. Watch as Pryor is going to stiff arm. That's a linebacker right there. He stiff arms him on his helmet. I mean, it's just it just seems so easy. Terrell Pryor is a great athlete. As far as a quarterback, pure passer, he's not a great passer, but he's a great athlete playing the quarterback position.
LeBron James was here this week for a preseason game, said he's been mentoring Pryor. I wonder if he taught him that move.
I doubt it.
Pryor looking like he was going to dunk it down on that run. Here's Tau Arnett, the tight end, and he has a Minnesota first down. Brian Roll made the stop downfield.
It's a nice wrinkle. I like that. Jed Fish coming out the second half. Tight ends have not caught many passes in the last couple of weeks for these two teams because they've been doing mostly pass protection. A little middle screen to the tight end.
A poor job of recognition by the defensive line. I got news for you. All 4 of you aren't going to come free no matter how good you are to defend this screen. Retrace your steps.
Marquise Gray out there at quarterback now. Big gain on first down. How much do you go to this package if you are the Gopher coaching staff right now?
Well, I think you have to continue to mix it in, and I like the way they're doing it. Marquise Gray, most of the time he's in, he's been running the ball, and he was in 7 plays in the first half. That's the first one. Nice run there. Picked up 8 yards.
Well, the key for Minnesota is, again, an opportunity for somebody to step up. With the loss of Decker, you have to somebody rise to the occasion, and right now, that's still up for grabs.
They've put together some good drives, but they haven't been able to finish them. There's Bennett, close to another Minnesota first down. Worthington made the play, but it looks like they'll move the sticks for the Gophers. 4-3 on the year, 2-2 in the Big Ten. Ohio State 3-1 in conference play. And considering they still play Iowa and would win a tiebreaker with Michigan State, because if both teams were to win out, Ohio State would have a better overall record. The Buckeyes really control their own destiny to what could be their first Rose Bowl under Jim Tressel. 5 BCS games, but with all those national championship appearances, has not actually coached a Rose Bowl as a head coach at Ohio State. Weber going deep, and a mix-up. Nobody home. Carpenter was the intended receiver. Iowa has to go to Michigan State today. Spartans still have to play Penn State as well. Ohio State has to play at Penn State and will host Iowa in a few weeks.
You said Iowa. Just Iowa comes here in a few weeks. But you know, Ohio State, you know, they don't have any party. Iowa comes here, but like you said, they have to go to Penn State and they have to go to Michigan. Now they'll probably be favored in every one of those games, the Buckeyes.
Michigan State might have the easiest road, though, right? Because their big games are at home. They don't play Ohio State.
Yeah.
Gray takes off. And it's about 4. Worthington on the tackle. We'll look at that Ohio State remaining schedule. Of course, at Michigan, too. Don't want to forget about that one on November 21st. And those teams have a combined 21-7 record. Tressel 7-1 against Michigan in his tenure.
They're facing pretty good defenses when you're talking about Iowa and Penn State down the road, with Michigan planning on becoming a better, more solid function in defense on November 21st. You never can tell in that game.
Of course, Ohio State has to win this game, leading right now 14-0 as Weber's pass way off the mark.
He couldn't wait any longer. He had to get rid of it. Pressure in the pocket.
Anderson, Russell in there defensively for the Buckeyes, making something happen, and now Howden has to punt it away. Ray Small, who has a punt return, make that a kick return for a touchdown this year. His longest punt return on the season is about 15 yards, and that came today. Here he is inside his 25, skips out of a tackle, and then he gets whipped back at the 24. John Hasty making the play. Terrell Pryor back on the field, had a nice drive last time. What will he do next?
ESPN's College Football, brought to you by RE/MAX. Outstanding agents, outstanding results.
Dave Pasch, Bob Greasy, and Chris Spielman in Columbus. Terrell Pryor in the backfield for the Buckeyes after a rushing touchdown on the last Ohio State possession. He hands it off to his backfield teammate in high school, Jordan Hall, true freshman, who is now getting work with the injury to Brandon Sane, and he gets maybe a yard.
I think that was a pretty good high school football team. Jordan Hall, Terrell Pryor. They won the championship 2 years in a row when Terrell was there. Also won the basketball championship.
Yeah, Terrell, very good high school basketball player, was heavily recruited by a lot of schools. And Pryor, seeing that there's a huge running lane, he gets picked up and body slammed by Lauren. Here, running room for Jordan Hall out across the 40 to the 42, gain of 5. Barrett Moen made the stop.
One of the things that's different about Ohio State's offense the previous 2 weeks is the fact that they're doing a lot more two-back formation, regular stuff. Now, the question was, is Terrell comfortable that he's most comfortable in shotgun? We talked to Jim Tressel. He's all about the balance. And I understand that Tress likes the shotgun, but this is where Tressel has made his living at Youngstown State, at Ohio State, when you're under center, running two backs and two tights.
Here's Hall, and finally goes down. But guys, isn't the spread offense what is going to be best for Terrell Pryor?
Well, and that's, that all this business about getting back to what Terrell does best. They've been doing that for the last 3 games. It just hasn't been working. Guys get in slumps. They play well. They don't play well. A young guy, I still say he's a young kid. But the thing about the fans getting on Terrell and getting on Tressel, I mean, come on, give these guys a break. I mean, Tressel's been here. This is his 9th year. In his first 8 years, he took him to 7 January 1 bowl games.
Pryor on 3rd down and long, and that one on target. Trying for Posey. Ohio State will punt. This week on Saturday Night Football, ABC delivers a pair of must-win games for number 3 Texas at Missouri and USC at home against Oregon State. Saturday Night Football presented by Southwest Airlines tonight on ABC, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Any chance Oregon State makes it 2 in a row? They haven't beaten USC in consecutive seasons in almost 100 years.
They're hot. They're a good ball club.
Is that a yes or a no?
No.
Okay. They're caught by Brian Allen at the 22. Chris, you want to jump in there on that?
I think there's always a chance, but when you have Matt Barkley playing and growing as a young player and producing as a young player, it's tough to do.
Minnesota in the first half able to get into Ohio State territory twice, but otherwise the Gophers haven't done much, especially since Eric Decker went out with an ankle injury. Weber and his receivers covered, and then he gets hit, and the ball came out. And it's recovered by Ohio State.
John Simon, number 54, is going to come into your screen, spin back off the protection, not quit on the play, and does a good job of just reaching and lunging, trying to get Weber down. Got the benefit of that big noggin helmet of his to knock the ball out when Decker dropped the ball to his waist. See that ball, that low release, that's telling me he was going to throw deep, Bob, and allowed the helmet of Simon to jar it loose.
Recovered by Thaddeus Gibson. Any question there, guys, whether the hand was going forward before the ball hit the helmet?
No question. That's the 19th takeaway by the Buckeye defense this year. They came in ranked 10th in the nation in takeaways.
Well, I'd love to see Tressel and Terrell Pryor take a shot at the end zone after the turnover here. They got some coverage with Posey out there if they want it. One-on-one up top.
Second drive that started inside the Minnesota 30 this half. Pryor in trouble and guns it to Posey, but they're going to lose 4 yards. Probably better served just to throw that over his head. The quarterbacks for Minnesota in this game, both are for Minnesota and Ohio State, both with better rushing numbers than the running backs. And Brandon Sane has been hurt, a head injury in the first half, so true freshman Jordan Hall is getting the bulk of the work for the Buckeyes at running back.
And Minnesota coming in, they were last in the conference in rushing. And that speaks to the offensive line and the whole rushing outfit.
And Pryor looking for a hole, reverses field. Oh, what a move by Terrell Pryor. Touchdown, Ohio State. There is a penalty flag down, though, at the 2.
We're going to get a holding on DeVere Posey out on the corner.
What a great play, though, by Pryor.
And I understand DeVere Posey's effort and wanting to get a play for his guy, but he's got to understand it's a mismatch.
Doesn't need it.
When he's 4'3" and 6'6", your 5'10" corner is not going to bring him down. Just shield him. You're going to take a look and see it on your play right here. This is good vision. And look, Terrell Pryor is part of the running game. That's why he leads the team in rushing.
Holding. Offense. Number 8. That's a 10-yard penalty. Remains second down.
That looked like a questionable call there. Sherrills has Posey as much as Posey has Sherrills there, except maybe at the end.
The left hand is on the outside. If the left hand was inside on the breastplates, he's okay. When that left hand goes outside the breastplate area, they're going to get you. But that's where DeVere is going to say, look, I understand. Just let me shield him and let 6'6" go get it.
You just say the breastplate?
Well, it's a pad that covers your breast. So, yes, the breastplate.
Down goes Jordan Hall. Close to the first down marker. Lee Campbell made the stop, and it's going to bring up third down. Minnesota's third down defense, one of the worst in the country. Need to stop here, really, to keep within striking distance. As you look at Kevin Cosgrove, for the most part, defense has done their job. The offense just can't get any points. They run Hall on third down, and he's got it. To the 11. Campbell tripped him up.
Ohio State is down to their third running back. They lost Beanie Wells in the draft. He's out in Arizona. Dan Herron is hurt. He's got an ankle. He's out the game. And now Brandon Sane gets hurt. So now we got the true freshman Jordan Hall. So things aren't looking very good for the Buckeyes of running backs. Check it out.
Huge hole this time. Touchdown, Jordan Hall. His first collegiate touchdown.
There's some emotion from Coach Tressel. He's usually a pretty steady Eddie guy. But for his offense to get going like it's getting going today, it relieves a lot of pressure that he's been getting from the outside, not only for his team and his quarterback, but frankly for him.
Point after by Petrie makes it 21-0 Ohio State.
Well, he better go down there and slap the helmets of all of his defensive guys, because the 2 touchdowns they've scored here in the second half have been short fields. The defense came up with a fumble on the kickoff return, and then they came up with a fumble to allow Hall. Look at the good blocking there. Offensive line, nice job.
Jordan Hall showing a little bit of burst, and he's flashed at times this year, guys. Just had trouble getting on the field early on with Boom Herron and, of course, Brandon Sain. And Jordan Hall, again, taking advantage of the opportunities that are presented before you. Get the playing time, make the most of it. And a good block by Bourne, number 65, pulling around there and kicking out, expanding the hole for Jordan Hall to shoot through.
Both those touchdown drives by the Buckeyes in the second half, one was for 31 yards, the other for 22 yards, set up by the defense.
It almost seems like without Decker, there's, where do we go? What do we do? He's gone. What do we do?
Well, even
that's the feeling I get watching it from up here.
Even with Decker, the offense was struggling.
His number 2 jerseys might be going back up in sales after this week.
Touchdown pass and a touchdown run for Pryor. Jordan Hall with a touchdown run. 21-0 Ohio State. Stoudemire again having trouble getting a handle on the ball and will not make it to the 20-yard line. And here it seems that Jim Tressel and the Buckeyes are in control, especially given how anemic Minnesota's offense has been. Their first drive was promising. They got inside the Buckeye 35 and then had some penalties and drops. You just can't do that and beat a team like Ohio State, even as much as the Buckeyes have been struggling, as that pass was nowhere near Juwan Bennett. As the chase hits the halfway point, Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon will look to close the gap on current points leader Jimmy Johnson. As NASCAR's best headed the shortest track on the circuit, that would be Martinsville. As the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continues on ABC tomorrow at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, presented by Goodyear.
Guys, I want to talk about something about the leadership of Jim Tressel. After Jordan Hall ran that touchdown, what happened was Terrell Pryor was looking to the sidelines. Tressel immediately pointed to the end zone and said, "Get your rear end down there." Terrell Pryor turned and sprinted to congratulate his teammates.
Well, it's interesting you make that point, as there's a penalty flag now.
False start. Number 53 of the offense. Still second down.
Because one of the things Terrell Pryor said this week when he had a press conference on Wednesday was that the loss last week helped him realize that his relationship with his teammates has to be better. And he feels that in the long run, what happened in Purdue will actually do him and the team good.
Well, humility does a lot for a lot of people. And most of the time, it's good if you're willing to be humble.
And it appears that Pryor was, as Gray is in trouble. And down he goes inside the 10, clocked by Nathan Williams.
But sometimes when success comes so quickly to a young guy, you don't appreciate all the hard work that maybe all your teammates have done to get you there. And then when you go through some down times and all your teammates come by to support you, then you say, wait a minute, this is a team. And sometimes you need to go through these things to make yourself and everybody else better.
The one thing I liked is he's willing to be coached, because Tress, I don't even know if he had to say anything. His arm shot and pointed to the end zone, and Terrell Pryor, without even questioning, turned and sprinted to the end zone. Watch Nathan Williams right here, boys. He's on the hunt.
Weber on 3rd and long, a little shovel pass to Bennett. And that's not going to get it done. Out of the 15, Ross Holman and John Simon on the tackle. Well, you guys were talking about Pryor and reacting to Jim Tressel. Well, they have a great relationship. They spent a lot of time talking, and Tressel has schooled Pryor as a quarterback specialty of Tressel's. And Tressel's gotten pretty good at schooling people. In fact, he actually teaches a class on campus. He's done that since coming back to Ohio State, where he was once an assistant coach. The theory and practice of coaching football.
There you go.
Kind of like some of the classes Spielman took when he was here, as that's a good punt. It'll roll down around the 30-yard line. Let's take a look at Coach Tressel during theory and practice of college football class.
If any of you end up in coaching at any level, one of the first things that you'll be asked to do is break down some film and learn about the opponent. And that's why we're having you get the experience of watching a practice, learning about every position, but learning how to scout.
Thaddeus Gibson is one of the members of the student body that takes that class.
The only football player in that class is Thaddeus Gibson.
Good balance there by Hall.
You know, Tressel turned down a lifetime contract here a couple of years ago and says after his coaching career is finished, he wanted to teach at Ohio State. Well, he teaches a class on Monday and Wednesday at 7:30 in the morning. John Cooper and Earl Bruce sometimes come and help him and take his place sometimes. But that's his calling. He wants to teach after he's retired from football.
Well, that's how he coaches. He's a teacher by definition, and he really approaches it that type of style.
Fire pulls it down, throws a strike to Posey for a Ohio State first down.
You know, Tressel, I started to talk about a little bit earlier. You know, I don't understand why all the fans were getting, you know, calling the radio programs and giving Tressel, you know, static and all that other stuff. He's been the best thing for this program since Woody Hayes. I mean, this is his 9th year. In the first 8 years, he's taken them to the championship game 3 times and won it once. I mean, what more can you ask? He won the Big Ten championship 4 years in a row.
Fire rolling out, gonna go deep. Posey beat his man. Touchdown, Ohio State. Seven-yard bomb. Terrell Pryor's second long touchdown pass to DeVere Posey today.
Another unit that's been under stress is the offensive line. And for the most part, the offensive line has handled the challenge today also.
Point after makes it 28-0. 3 touchdowns by Ohio State in 12 minutes.
In the Ohio State offense, everything runs through number 2. Passing and rushing. Get him outside the pocket. He can make this throw. There is no doubt he's got the arm strength to make that one.
Second touchdown pass, 12th of the season for Pryor, matching his total from all of last year. And how about DeVere Posey? Here's a guy that's really stepped up with Rabisky and Hartline gone, the sophomore from Cincinnati. Had a career-high 9 catches last week against Purdue. He's got a couple of touchdowns here today.
One of our impact players, Posey, he's going to be a good one. I mentioned that he's going to be a long line of those wide receivers that have come through Ohio State and gone on to play in the pros.
8 catches, 161 yards today for Posey.
You get the feeling he's saying, how do you like my offense now? Yeah. I do, and it's fine, and I hope he has that feeling. I hope he does.
And it's no different than he's been doing the last 2 or 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, it's different that they're actually making it work. They're scoring points.
The players are playing better, but it's schematically, it's not Tressel. He was a quarterback. He calls plays, and he knows his personnel. He knows what Terrell does well, the throws he makes well, and the ones he doesn't. And that's what he emphasizes.
Is it realistic, though, to think that all of a sudden all of the detractors from last week are going to go away?
No, you have to do it over a period of time. I mean,
those people that were calling the radio show, giving you hell about all this, they're going to be calling. See, I told you, all I did last week and came in there and get on those guys, that was because of me.
That's right.
Stoudemire, make that Brian Allen is back there because Stoudemire had a couple fumbles. He gets drilled. Huge hit at the 17th. And Devine might even be smaller than Darren Sproles of the San Diego Chargers, and that's hard to do. Here's Stoudemire on the end around. The Buckeyes not fooled. Defense playing well again today for Ohio State. This will give some credence to what you're talking about here, Bob, with Tressel not only the 5 conference titles, but his record against Michigan compared to some of the other guys here.
7-1 against Michigan.
John Cooper lives in the area. He's at the game today.
Yep.
Earl Bruce, you played for him, Chris.
Yeah, he's at the game today.
I tell you, and the one thing that's not on there are Rose Bowls. And as you mentioned earlier, Jim Tressel has not taken the Ohio State Buckeyes as a head coach to the Rose Bowl.
And that's 5 BCS Bowls.
I'll tell you why, yeah.
As that pass is tipped and picked off by Anderson Russell. There's a penalty flag down, and Russell eventually dropped inside the 20.
Intercepted by Anderson Russell.
Pass interference, though, against Ohio State.
Man, it's just a track meet. Right now, back to Adam Weber. Everybody's got their rear ends up.
Pass interference. Defense. Spot foul. Automatic first down.
Weight on their fingers, and they're coming and bringing pressure. And I mean, there have been a couple pass interferences on today where it could have gone pass interference, it could not have. From that angle, it was tough to tell whether the linebacker, Storm Klein, came in with his hands a little early and pushed him away. I trust the officials on that. But the problem you have right now, if you're Adam Weber, is you got guys coming, and they're coming hard, and they are coming with the intent to put you on the ground in a hurry.
Again, no Eric Decker, the all Big Ten wide receiver, is out. Left ankle injury. Another end around. This time it's Whaley. He's out near the 33-yard line.
I said Storm Klein. I believe it's Austin Spittler, number 38. He did push before the ball was there, so that's a great call by the officials on top of it. That's where you got to have the discipline as a defender, and it's so hard to do. Is trust your training and your position, and you just want to put your hands on there and say, I'm not going to let you go.
I think you know, you see the quarterback and the timing. You see the quarterback about ready to throw, and if he takes longer than you think he's going to take to get rid of it, then you may hit him too soon.
Another penalty flag.
Well, they get a little itchy because they know what we're saying up here is about everybody's got their
false start. Offense. Number 73. Second down.
Weight on their hands. The rear ends up. And the Hussein Bolt track race is about ready to start. Back to the quarterback.
This is a good group of pass rushers that Ohio State has. So look at Tim Brewster in his 3rd year at Minnesota. And
he's bringing it around. He's bringing this program back.
Started 7-1 last year. They ended up losing their final 5 games, but still a winning season after only 1 win overall 2 years ago. And even with a loss today, they still be at 500. As Weber throws across the middle to Tao Arnett. That's the biggest play offensively the Gophers have had in a while.
It's a double move by Tao Arnett.
Yes.
Good job of Weber staying patient and allowing Tao Arnett to make the double move, beating Ross Holman on the little outside, then turn it up the field. Yeah, I understand everything that you're saying, Bruce, when we go back to what Coach Tressel and what they've accomplished. It's been amazing. But I think part of the problem is that he set the standard so high when he first got here, winning the national championship in 2002. Then it's a big secret. No, it's not. That they've struggled in BCS bowl games.
Yes.
And when you do that and you struggle offensively, the standard doesn't lower. So it's not enough just to get to a BCS game. And if it ever becomes enough here at Ohio State just to get to a bowl game or a BCS game, then you become average and mediocre, and that's never going to be the standard here.
Whaley picks up 9 yards. Well, we were commenting as we were watching some of the Ohio State-Miami national title highlights before the game, but all the NFL players out there for Miami. And I think fans see, well, hey, they beat Miami with all those players. How come they can't beat Florida and LSU that have the same amount of NFL players?
I want to go back and clear one thing up.
As Whaley has the first down.
As we said that Tressel is not taking his teams to a Rose Bowl, that's because he was in 3 national championship games. If he were not in those games, he would have taken his team to the Rose Bowl.
Penalty flag down, 1 second remaining. No penalty flag down. And that is the end of the 3rd quarter with Ohio State leading 28-0, 21 third-quarter points for the Buckeyes. Chris Spielman in Columbus, where Ohio State is looking to become the first school this year to have 3 shutouts. And the Buckeyes are 1 quarter away from doing so. It's starting to rain here in Columbus as we start the 4th. Minnesota with a first down at the Ohio State 45. And Weber in trouble, sacked again. Gibson got him at the 45.
Boy, it's easy to get sacks if you're unblocked. We talk about the mental errors. Thaddeus Gibson runs a quick inside move. And I don't know if he's unblocked or, frankly, Bob, I think
he may have learned
Will's just fan. Will's just fan.
He did. He may have learned that move in Tressel's class. We saw him sitting in there one early morning at 7:30.
Or that's what the Purdue defensive linemen were doing to the Ohio State offensive linemen last week, and Ohio State had trouble picking that up.
That's for sure.
They threw that quick inside move on big 71 Wills.
Second sack for Gibson in the game. And got another one.
The trifecta.
Back to back for Gibson. Got Weber at the 40.
Well, and Jed Fish and Tim Brewster were talking about, they were concerned about the speed of the defensive ends of Ohio State. Thaddeus Gibson with the offensive tackles. You see him upside. There's a nice little slap swim. They're not quitting on the play, running the hoop. They used to run the hula hoop to run tight circles. Well executed. The fundamentals of the sack.
Run the hula hoop?
Yeah, you run that hula hoop.
I don't know if that was being taught in Tressel's class.
See a bunch of defensive guys out there running around a hula hoop?
That's what they do.
I'd pay to see Spielman with a hula hoop. 3rd and 24 for Weber. This time he actually has time to throw, but he throws an interception to Spittler. Another Minnesota turnover. And the Gophers coming undone here in the second half.
Spittler is the 11th different player on the defense to have an interception this year.
And the Buckeyes take over, leading 28-0. Second half turnovers by Minnesota, including the interception on the last play by Adam Weber. Already has more picks this year than he had all of last season. And Ohio State takes over. Jamil Martin, the running back. And he keeps his feet alive and crosses midfield before Lee Campbell makes the tackle. Well, it has been a long time since Minnesota had a point. Go back to the 3rd quarter of the Purdue game 2 weeks ago. 128 minutes later, and the Gophers still searching for anything offensively.
No, when you talk about that kind of drought and a future talent in Gray sitting on the bench, at what point do you say, well, let's give Gray the start and see what he can do? That's a decision I think Jed Fish and Tim Brewster have to think about.
Martin, a redshirt freshman, second straight carry, gets the first down. Like beat anybody.
Looked like they were one of the surprise teams.
Here's Small on the end around. Gets about 7. Brought down by Royston. Tonight on ESPN, we'll see how Florida's depleted defense does, taking on their former offensive coordinator, now the head coach of the Bulldogs, Dan Mullen. Florida at Mississippi State. College football primetime presented by Hampton Hotels at 7:30. Only 2 teams that were the #1 team in the BCS standings initially ended up winning national titles, as Martin has a big hole, breaks a tackle, and Martin takes it all the way to the end zone. Touchdown, Buckeyes. .39-yard touchdown run. With the injury to St. a pair of freshmen, Hall and Martin getting it done at running back for Ohio State.
Again, opportunity. Great job for the young back. Martin, of vision and patience, cutting it back inside, being patient, allowing the hole to open up in front of you. Once you get through that hole, burst and find a way to finish.
You think he had any idea that he might be playing this year?
No.
Certainly not this game. At halftime, it was 7-0, but Ohio State came out with a pooch kick. Stoudemire muffed the kickoff. The Buckeyes recovered inside the Minnesota 30-yard line, and they have not looked back. It's 35-0 Ohio State. It's raining here in Columbus, but the criticism will not be raining down on Terrell Pryor and the Ohio State offense this week. After Martin's first collegiate touchdown, the Buckeyes lead it 35-0 over Minnesota. Pryor has over 100 yards on the ground and a touchdown and 2 touchdown passes. He does have an interception. That was at the end of the first half.
Well, the criticism's still going to come. I mean, because it has to be done over a consistent basis. But I do think what you saw today, what you have not seen, is progress. Progress in his reads, progress in running, progress in the offensive line.
True.
That's what's something they needed.
But that's the problem. It's all on one guy. It all goes through one guy. And when he has a bad day or he's off, then the offense is off.
Brian Allen on the return. Minnesota hadn't gotten to the 20 yet on these kick returns. Looking at our Liberty Mutual drive recap, this was the opening kickoff of the second half. Stoudemire cannot get to the pooch kick. The Buckeyes recover, and then they score from there with Terrell Pryor taking it in for the rushing touchdown. But you have to also, even though it is on one guy, give him credit for the way he responded today with the performance that he's had.
For sure. He came out slow. He warmed up poorly. Chris and I were watching him. He didn't hit many receivers in the warm-ups. His first or second possessions were not good, and he just slowly warmed up after that.
Marquise Gray, great ball fake. This might be the way to go for Minnesota as Gray is near a first down.
Well, one of their problems is their offensive line. Their offensive line is not very good. And, you know, then when you get your Decker gets hurt, Eric Decker goes out of the ball game, you don't have much. There's not much of a running game, not much passing game, so get a quarterback in there that might be a little more shifty.
We'll leave Gray out there for the second straight play. He gives it to Whaley this time. Nathan Williams with the initial hit.
All right, I got my who's hot list here.
Yeah.
Who is hot in... Now, this is not the favorites. You know, this is not the Floridas and the Alabamas. This, Georgia Tech and Pittsburgh, both 6-1. They're hot. Oregon, they're rolling. Okay, Cincinnati, they're ranked number 5 in the BCS. They're rolling. They're hot. All right, Miami, University of Miami, playing good. And the number 1 hot team on my list, Iowa.
We saw those guys last week.
Yeah.
They're ugly, but they get it done.
They're at Michigan State tonight, trying for their first ever 8-0 start. Here's Stoudemire on the end around, and he gets to about the 30-yard line. Well, Oregon is an interesting story based on what happened week 1 in the loss to Boise State with the LeGarrette blunt punch, but they got USC at home. Can they be the Pac-10 representative in the Rose Bowl?
You know, I think that's going to be a very good test. You know, when you think of Oregon, that's the thing you immediately think of is that loss, the punch. You know, and I hope they let the kid get back in some games. I haven't seen anything lately in the last couple of weeks, but I hope they let him get back for the last few games of the year because I heard that he's doing the right things.
3rd and 7 for Minnesota. Weber with a ton of time going to McKnight. There was contact, no flag, and it's intercepted by Coleman. Coleman might take it back all the way. He did it against Wisconsin. This time he gets tripped up. There are 3 penalty flags down. Jeff Wills, a tackle, was on the ground. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but his foot was in the air, and that tripped up Coleman.
Blocking below the waist on a return, which you're not allowed to do. You see Kurt Coleman, who's a smart football player, physical football player. See right there. Could have been interference, incidental contact. They let it go, but Kurt Coleman knows how to finish. Ohio State knows how to finish on interceptions. Everybody clears a hash, but you got to know what you have to do there, Nathan. You can't block below the waist off an interception.
You said incidental contact back there?
Well, they were both going for the football.
Oh, come on. He pushed him down. He hit him right in the back.
He pushed him down and caught the ball.
Okay.
The defense.
I just see it differently.
That's the way they play.
I guess apparently the guy right next to the play agrees with me.
I guess that's all said and done.
Joe Bosserman in a quarterback now for Terrell Pryor. Bosserman will hand it off to Martin. And not much there. Bosserman was a walk-on a couple years ago. He was playing baseball for a while in the Pirates organization from 2004 to 2006, and there actually were some fans clamoring for Jim Tressel to play Boserman this week against Minnesota, but Tressel quickly said no.
Yeah, this is
he hasn't wavered from that at all.
No, and he shouldn't. And this is the 4th game that Boserman has been in. As you see, he's thrown. He's like 4 of 9 in the passing count, so he hasn't thrown many passes.
Boserman flushed out of the pocket here. And inside the 30. Boserman gets hit as he throws, and it's incomplete. Trying for Lamar Thomas. It'll bring up 4th down. This week on Saturday Night Football, ABC has 2 matchups for you. Number 3, Texas taking on Missouri, and USC hosting Oregon State. Saturday Night Football presented by Southwest Airlines tonight on ABC at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Any chance Texas stumbles in that game, guys?
No, I talked to Mac Brown yesterday. In fact, when we were out dinner, that's who called. And I was talking to Mac, and he said, I said, watch out for the upset alert. He says, we know all about it. He says, this happened last year after we beat Oklahoma. This little stretch, we went in, and so he was all ready for it.
Petrie missed a short field goal in the first half, and the coaching staff trying to give his confidence back, and that'll help. The 44-yarder for Petrie makes it 38-0 Buckeyes. And it's 38-0 Buckeyes. Ohio State has a 5-2 record, 3-1 in the Big Ten. They've got Iowa here on the 14th of November, a week after they travel to Happy Valley to play at Penn State. And then also a road test at Michigan, of course, at the end of the year. Brian Allen on the return. And this time he actually crosses the 20, but not much after that. Well, Terrell Pryor certainly bouncing back after 4 turnovers a week ago. He's the RE/MAX player of the game, over 100 rushing yards and a touchdown, 239 through the air, and 2 passing touchdowns, both bombs to DeVere Posey.
I think another thing that I noticed today that's not going to show up on the statistics was that his mentality and his composure was solid today. He's been kind of an emotional wreck in and out of games. Today he was solid and composed.
Oh, great move by Marquise Gray. And then he runs over a defensive back. All the way to midfield is Gray, freshman quarterback.
Yeah, now you see why Tim Brewster and Jed Fish, the offensive coordinator, like to get this kid in the ball game. I mean, this is what he does the best, is run. Similar to what Pryor can do. I mean, Pryor is going to beat you with his legs first and then his arm.
Here's a blitz, and Gray completes it. Tao Arnett on the catch. And Decker cannot come back from that foot injury. You saw him in a boot earlier. Maybe they'll give Gray a chance here down the stretch with Minnesota unable to score with Adam Weber at quarterback the last few games.
And the minutes keep ticking until they had an offensive touchdown. So why not see what this young kid has? You get him experience, and you cannot simulate game speed and practice speed no matter how hard you try. So this is invaluable for him.
And first down, Bennett. And keeps going. They coughed it up. They're still fighting for it under the pile.
That's something, guys, that the Ohio State defense does so well.
Yeah.
They got a guy up there. They start ripping and raking at that football, and Anderson Russell.
It's just good coaching.
Minnesota
gets back to discipline, good coaching. Jim Haycock.
See Anderson right here coming in late into your screen. Got the ball on the point and rip.
That just goes back to coaching. All those guys on the defensive side, the defensive backs, the cornerbacks, they don't get in the ball game until they can tackle. Every one of those guys can tackle. Then if you can cover. But the first thing is all those guys over there on that side of the ball can tackle, and they're all smart.
Tao Arnett, the tight end, recovered it for Minnesota. This is only the 9th play run by the Gophers in Buckeye territory, and most of those came in the first quarter. They actually had a chance early on in this game. Stoudemire on the catch and to the outside. And cut down by Amos after he got the first down. Chicago fans, there's a new place to go to get the latest on the teams you care about most. ESPNChicago.com. Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox, and college sports. ESPNChicago.com. Your home for local sports news, radio highlights, and updates.
I have my list here of who's not hot.
We're on pins and needles. We'll have to wait till after this play. Here's Gray. He'll keep. And drop at the 22.
I gave you the who's hot list. Yep. Who's not? Number 5, Illinois.
You can say that again.
You're going out on a limb there, Bruce.
Number 4, Ole Miss. Remember, they were ranked like 5th in the country. You know, they lost a couple games. Virginia Tech. They've lost a couple games. They were ranked at number 6. Number 2, Florida State.
They had a nice comeback.
They did. Nice comeback, but they've lost a bunch. And the number 1 team that's not hot, Oklahoma. They've lost 3 games.
And a quarterback.
And the quarterback. Thank you very much.
Gray completes it to Stoudemire. It's another Minnesota first down. Now, granted, Ohio State has a lot of its second teamers out there in defense, but Gray is throwing it pretty well.
Well, I think you got to be encouraged, right, Grease, when you see a young quarterback and coming in and responding, asking him to do what you do.
Yes.
Now, I'm sure the playbook has been shrunk for Marquise Gray to execute, but the fact is he's executing, and as that coach, I'm excited to see that.
This is great experience for him. This is just, you know, and when you have an offensive line that can't protect the quarterback in the pocket, sometimes it's good to have some guy that can get out of the pocket and make things happen.
And Gray zips that one in there. Touchdown, Stoudemire. That was on the money and fast.
It'll be interesting to see how when the second team defense comes up, how the first team defense reacts. Now, I suspect because these guys are trained pretty good, that's all right, boys, go get them. But there might be 1 or 2 guys that get in the grill of those other guys and say, you blew our shutout, man. So, which is not all that bad either.
I take it Chris would have been one of the latter guys when he was playing.
I told you last week there's no hugging in football, Dave.
That's if they actually got you off the field, even when it was 38-0. Now, like Ja'Cory Harris, Terrell Pryor has been up and down, but Pryor up today. Harris has been up this year. Had a battle it out with Robert Marv in Miami last year, but a tough schedule that the Hurricanes have played this year. Elstad to kick. And here's Ray Small, and he muffed it. Ohio State does recover, though, just short of the 20-yard line. Now let's see who's winging it. Brought to you by Wing Street. Marquise Gray, only 1 pass attempt coming in. He's 5 of 6 with a touchdown pass, albeit with Ohio State second teamers out there in defense. First career touchdown for Gray.
Something positive for Minnesota to take back.
That's exciting, too. I mean, I think that's something that he's going to remember the rest of his life. One of your first touchdown pass as a starting quarterback.
Yeah, and Tim Brewster and Jed Fish and all the other coaches on the Gopher ball club. You know, it's that's the future.
Excuse me, not as a starting quarterback, but with extensive play where you get to lead a drive and actually throw the football.
It's great other than the score. I think you might remember that as well. When did the touchdown happen? Well, it was 38-0. There's Martin raking free again, all the way out near the 35.
Telling you, Cleveland Glenville. Ted Ginn, Troy Smith, Rob Rose, Ray Small, Hall, the offensive lineman, Martin.
Okay, here you go.
Take a look. I want to play, Coach.
Biggest surprise player you've seen this year?
Ingram, for me.
There you go. Alabama running back Ingram.
Nice stiff arm right here.
What about for you, partner?
I don't know if Ingram's a surprise. Maybe the numbers are the surprise.
Sophomore. He's just a sophomore.
I think Jimmy Clausen. I think the way Clausen has bounced back after all the criticism he's taken.
Yeah.
Who's the best player, Dave? We talked about this last week, and you guys scoffed at me a little bit.
I would not have said Ingram until last week. Now I'll say Ingram. And Alabama's never had a Heisman Trophy winner, believe it or not. So Ingram might be the first.
Well, you know who I think is the biggest surprise player?
As Martin takes it out to the 40.
The biggest surprise player for me, Matt Barkley.
That's a good one.
USC.
Good.
Did you see him?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see him last week on the road at Notre Dame? I'll tell you, he made some plays.
He's getting better.
Oh, each week he's getting better. You're right.
Here's the thing that goes back to Ingram. Here's the thing that goes against him. You've had one non-quarterback this decade win the Heisman Trophy, and that was one of the most exciting players that college football's seen in a long time, Reggie Bush.
Yes.
I don't know if Ingram is in that category just yet.
I agree.
But what other guy is standing out?
Right now, really nobody.
Your three Heisman, your top 3 Heisman candidates from last year, all quarterbacks. 2 of them got hurt. Bradford got hurt, and Tebow got hurt.
And you got to put Clausen up there.
And then McCoy, he's back, but his numbers aren't as good. So there's no runaway. There's no runaway favorite for the Heisman.
Casey Christian gets a yard. You look at the numbers for Ingram. 11 total touchdowns. The problem for Jimmy Clausen is the losses, even though the numbers are spectacular. And just because he's Tim Tebow, I guess you have to put him in the mix, and they've got the number 1 team in the country as a Heisman candidate.
Yeah, he missed one game. McCoy's numbers aren't as good, but
interceptions are up.
You know, we're just halfway through the season. You know, let's wait 4 or 5 more weeks, and those numbers will be up.
Well, then it's easy.
There's third down and 2. Play fake for Boserman, and Boserman gets out of there and appears to have the first down. Is there somebody that is not in that group that we're not talking about that could creep up there in the second half of the season?
Well, you remember early on, we did the game Minnesota, California, Javid Best. You know, his stock was way high. And then California, after we left them and they left us, they kind of went down the hill, and we never heard any more of Javid Best. What other quarterbacks are up there? The quarterbacks from Houston. I heard his name.
Yeah.
Well, Pike until he broke his arm.
Yeah. Pike was a
Cincinnati quarterback.
And Martin on first down out near the 48-yard line. Well, it'll be interesting to see how the fans and the media here in Columbus respond to this. Ohio State with 31 second-half points, and the Buckeyes play New Mexico State here next week before back-to-back against Penn State and Iowa.
Well, I'm going to tell you how they're going to respond. I mean, they're going to be excited about this, but again, it's going to say, can you sustain it and do it over a period of time? And can you have some type of offense that is similar to this against Penn State and against Iowa? That's how they're going to respond. But it's progress, and that's something you build on.
NASCAR, Juan Pablo Montoya. You know, he's one of the best drivers in NASCAR. I just want to apologize for the comment that I made earlier in the ball game.
So the Buckeyes bounce back after winning or losing at Purdue last week. They respond with a 38-7 drubbing of Minnesota. And again, the Buckeyes control their own destiny for a 5th straight Big Ten championship, but a lot of work to be done. At Penn State, at Michigan, home against Iowa. But Terrell Pryor plays like he did today with a couple of touchdown passes and a touchdown run. Look out. For Chris Spielman, Bob Greasy, our entire crew, I'm Dave Pasch. College Football Scoreboard is up next. So long from Columbus. Now back to Reese in the studio.